Hey, everybody. Welcome to Jets Talk Now. Paul Fiore here. Thanks for tuning in, subscribing. I wanted to bring on a guest today, good friend Frankie V from uStadium, New York Post. Also does Gangs All Here Pod, which I watch religiously and enjoy when there's meltdowns on that show after post games. Ryan definitely loses it sometimes. I get a kick out of Ryan. But I wanted to bring Frankie on because we're only in early February, and it feels like there's been daily Jets news in the offseason. And what normally is, I would have assumed the coaching stuff for a team that has their head coach still on, employed. The amount of news on a daily about the rest of the staff is just kind of crazy. And I thought it'd be good to chat with Frankie a bit about, today we got the news that Frank Reich's the OC. There's a bit of a roller coaster to get here, as everything Jets related seems to be these days. And talk a bit about, Aaron Glenn, is there anything he can do to maybe change the dynamic and how it's viewed in a lens of the fans? I think 80% of whom seem to be out on Glenn. I don't know how you feel, Frankie, but that's kind of what I see online.
Yeah, a little, around there, probably a little less, but
maybe a little less. And
something around there.
And now with Reich in place, Glenn being the DC, we have free agency and we have the draft coming up. Maybe talk a little bit about, you can bring in the greatest OC and Frank Reich's not. I mean, he's got a resume, but I wouldn't call him the greatest OC. But at the end of the day, who's the quarterback? What should we be hoping for as fans? I will say I've been super torn about what my expectation is for 2026 and what I should be rooting for. Frankie was Tanky V in some circles a year ago, and I adopted that this past year and was tanking for Mendoza, and that seemed to blow up in my face. So anyway, Frankie, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
No, man, pleasure's all mine. Thanks, Paul. I like that you started your own show. Your show's doing well. You got a few thousand subscribers almost already. I mean, you're growing, man. You're growing. You're becoming big time, dude.
Yeah,
I'm becoming big time. I like it.
I'm fighting with Sean Marash online about his report
there you go.
today. But so quick.
The thing with that stuff is we have to put stuff into context overall. Now, reporting is one element to this sports media landscape, and content creation, which is what I do or try to do, is the other element of it. I'm not a reporter, and some people, I think, sometimes try to report on things by just connecting dots, which on a reporting basis is not completely kosher in that world. But with that being said, I mean, some people hear things. I've heard things before in the past. I've said things or tweeted things that I've heard about certain situations in the, I won Jets Drive. Doesn't make me a reporter, but you never really know what somebody knows. But a lot of times it's tough to think that someone that's not really connected with the Jets at all is getting some deep insider information. And I'm not saying that specifically towards Sean Marash. I'm just saying in general, you find that people try to get headline stories by connecting dots, and that's not something that the media world is going to take too lightly, especially fans, when it's not something favorable to the organization. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I know that got a lot of play yesterday. We just recorded a pod for Gangsel here, and that was brought up also. But, sometimes the obvious things get reported on by people as if they're factual. Or if they're as if they're insider things, but they're really not. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean, my view on it is, last week, I think anybody that's paid attention to this team and watched the pivot away from Wink Martindale and all the reporting of him coming in for that second meeting, clearly, if you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's and paying attention, you would say Woody must have stepped in and said, I don't see why you don't call the plays, Aaron, and I'm not paying for this, and also an OC. And I have no actual issue with that part of his reporting. My issue was, because I think we've all assumed that anyway, so to me that's not news, right? My issue was the Muji piece, because I'm just wrapping my brain around the idea that Darren Muji is going around talking to people about his unhappiness as the Jets GM, and that he's having a hard time doing his job, and that somehow gets out at the Senior Bowl and everyone's talking about Darren Muji's telling people they shouldn't work in New York or come here, and that he's hamstrung by trying to make decisions. Feels really, if he did do that, that's the stupidest thing that somebody can do. And Muji seems a pretty intelligent guy. So I struggle. Maybe he heard it, but I don't know if he should have said it on air, is where I struggled a bit. So anyway, so we got back and forth, and it's fine. But what's your takeaway on Frank Reich? I'm curious. I haven't heard what your thinking is.
Listen, man, I'm not crazy about it, because I think Frank Reich is in many ways a dinosaur in this game today. He's gonna be the oldest offensive coordinator in the league by maybe 5 years. We have a lot of openings though, so we don't really know how it's all going to shape out at this point. But it's looking like he'll be the oldest OC in the game. With that said, though, I do like a lot of his experience, and my dad always told me, don't ever downplay experience, because you can learn a lot from people that have experience. And I think he brings a lot of pedigree to the game, especially on the offensive side. You look at his experiences he was there with Andrew Luck for maybe his best year that he had in that last year Luck had in 2018. Before that, he obviously had been the OC, not the play caller, but the play designer, quote unquote, in Philadelphia. They had won the Super Bowl that year. And then after Luck, he had some solid seasons with some pretty run-of-the-mill guys at that time. Jacoby Brissett had a pretty good year with him. Phillip Rivers had sort of a coming-out party in 2020 with over 4,000 yards passing he had that year. Wentz had his best year in the last 10 years or so there in 2021. And then Matt Ryan sort of was finished at that point. But listen, man, Frank Reich knows how to call an offense. He knows how to develop a quarterback to a degree. He kind of did it with older guys, but it's not like he doesn't know. The guy has a very complex system. His schemes are very unique in terms of what he's looking for. He likes to do a lot of these like triangle reads, they call them, where you have three receivers in a certain zone and a certain soft spot on the defense, and you kind of make it, you put on the quarterback to kind of find the right guy, depending upon what the defender is going to do. He likes to put the defensive players in precarious positions where they're really, thinking a little bit too much, and then he's going to make them regret that decision. He calls it conflict creation, is something that he sort of his philosophy is. He sort of came out with this concept, putting defenders in binds where basically every choice that they're thinking they're going to make is going to be wrong. Safeties are coming up. We're doing RPO. We're going to throw it over you. Safeties are dropping back. We're going to give it, or we're going to throw it underneath. He likes a lot of mesh stuff, rub-offs with tight ends and whatnot. So it's good for the tight ends too. So this is good for Mason Taylor to a degree. He's an RPO kind of guy, big time, which we didn't really run much of. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of quarterback you're going to bring in that can run that. And then the running game stuff is interesting too. He likes to do a lot of zone outside stuff. And he's a very aggressive on fourth downs, which that'll be interesting. I mean, he's one of the most aggressive guys on going for it on fourth down. He was like that when he was coaching in Indianapolis. He was like that in Carolina for the limited time he was there, fired in his first year there. But, he had some success in India. I think they made the playoffs twice there. So, I mean, listen, he's a good offensive coach. I'm not going to say he's not. It's just he's 64 years old. Glenn is 53. What's the long-term strategy here? I just think the Jets came into this offseason after this cluster fuck. So can I curse?
Yeah,
I
do.
With this cluster fuck that's going on. And we're just raising the floor to not be some embarrassing unit or team in 2026. That's what I think they're doing. Like they're telling themselves that Glenn's been in DC. He was pretty successful there. Reich has been a successful OC / head coach at, for stints. this is our best way to win 6 games or not, be an embarrassment of the league, which we were this year. That's what I think they did. They just raised the floor. For me, I don't see the long-term play here, but, and I'll finish with this, to what you were kind of alluding to, when you opened up the show, and you did an excellent job of doing that. I love your intro, by the way.
Thank you.
They'll be okay if they find a quarterback, and I'll be okay as a fan if they find a quarterback. How? I don't know, and it might not be this year, but if you could do something with the quarterback, bring in someone young or sign someone that shows something, then I think we'll all shut up and we'll ignore the win-losses, because we've been so starved for just average quarterback play.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things, right? And so you can't look. I wanted them to keep Tanner. I thought it's an impossible situation to grade him on the season that he had with the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. I think he showed enough flashes to bring in someone who was senior, who could help him maybe in play calling in general during the game. Might have been interesting to bring someone in, but demoting him from actually play calling didn't seem to make sense for me. Now, maybe it was as simple as they would not have been able to get a Frank Reich if he didn't get play calling duty. I don't know, but it's which is odd to me, because I was reading that he's basically he was retired. He was ready to retire. He took the Stanford gig as a kind of as a favor, and now he's doing this one as a favor. So now if a guy's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like that makes me a bit nervous. You're right. He's 64. He's not a kid. What I struggle with as a fan right now is I feel like the Jets are multiple years away from being a contending football team, even if it's built the right way. It's been torn down to the studs. You have a few nice pieces, but you've got to rebuild your entire defense. You've got to get a quarterback. And to have any sustained winning, it's got to be a quarterback that's not a bridge. But I feel like Glenn is under this mandate, without being said, that, well, you need to go win games. So there's a misalignment. There's a misalignment in timeline now. It's like, all right, I'm going to get rid of the young play caller who showed flashes because I don't have the patience for him. And we go bring in someone that I know is like a steady hand. Now they're going to, I just get this weird feeling they're going to go after some quarterback. I hope to God it's not Kyler Murray. It wouldn't make sense for Kyler Murray and Frank Reich. They just don't seem like a fit, at least to me. I'm curious what your thought is, but his greatest success is with pocket passing type quarterbacks that are of decent height. I mean, like Kyler Murray is the complete opposite of that. And you saw what happened when he had Bryce Young, which did not go well. So like, what do they do? Do they go bring in a Kirk Cousins? I don't want Carson Wentz. I mean, the guy, I don't even know if he can play football after his injuries last year. But like, go out and do what? Win 6 games or 7 games to save your ass as a job. And now you lose out on possibly getting, a top quarterback because you're no longer in the top 5 in the draft. Like, that's what worries. It's weird. As a fan, I hate the idea of a double tank. But I'm so sick of losing. I just don't know what I should be thinking. I don't see a world where this team pulls the Ryan Fitzpatrick year out of their ass. I don't see that.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to pull a year together like that. And at this point, man, you got to put yourself in Aaron Glenn's shoes. You got to put yourself in Woody Johnson's shoes. And they're in almost like this self-preservation mode at this point. This year was so embarrassing. Coaches don't want to come here. We're the talk of the town in a bad way. They're just trying to preserve their jobs and their status in the league, I think, in league circles. It was really rock bottom this past year. I think we can officially say we did hit rock bottom. Fans aren't even looking forward to the upcoming season, which is as low as you can get. You can't get any lower. It's even worse. It's worse than even having zero expectations. It's like, I don't even care.
Right.
That's worse than like not having expectations. You have no emotional connection to the team. And that's so much a part of what being a fan is, especially when you're a Jets fan. So I think they're just trying to preserve themselves. Aaron Glenn more so than Woody. Woody will be here, but obviously he's the owner. But Aaron Glenn, yeah, I mean, I just think he's trying to put something together that is good enough to keep his job. Seriously, that's exactly what's going on here, man. I mean, there's no point in getting rid of Tanner Engstrand. There's zero justification for that. There isn't. I mean, yeah, Frank Reich is more experienced than Tanner Engstrand. If you told me you have 1 year to make the playoffs and you had to pick one OC between him, Tanner, and Reich, maybe I'll pick Frank Reich. But this isn't a year that's really gonna do anything in terms of we don't have playoff aspirations. We're not going to the Super Bowl, not even close. So like, what's the point? But we just had a pod right before I came on here with Ryan and Kaz, and Kaz brought up a good point. He said, "Yeah, but Frankie, how many OCs stick around for 2-3 years anymore? It really doesn't happen. You look at the league now. I think there's like 20 new OCs overall. I thought it was like 10 or 11. There's a bunch. So like, you're shuffling the deck, man, here, all over the league. So like, I get that, but like, this team really needs to establish an identity on offense. And I thought Tanner could have at least have given us some upside in his creativity, the way that spacing was happening in this, at the second and third levels with these receiver routes. I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
He was calling the wrong play sometimes, I think, at the wrong time, but that comes with experience. I mean, he's not an OC now either, right? Like he's a pass game coordinator, which seems to be, and I never really loved his running concepts also, but I loved him as like a prospect. Everyone's a prospect when they're in year 1 or 2, right? Like, no one's a finished product. People don't come into the league and like that haven't been OCs before and just like hit the ground running. And then you give them, like you just said, literally bottom of the barrel quarterbacks. And I never came out of a game and I was like, damn, our offense blew that one, or our offense was horrific. It was our defense was horrific and our quarterbacks don't know what the hell they're doing. But, yeah. He got Aiden Mitchell involved. Mechie did some nice things. I mean, these aren't guys that are even – teams didn't want these guys. They're not even third or fourth receivers on other teams. They didn't want it. No one wanted them.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the last last half of the season, no Garrett. His wide receivers were guys that didn't start the year on the roster. I mean, and a quarterback that should not be rostered in the NFL, and Brady Cook. I mean, it's just, and arguably Justin Fields is probably a QB3 at this point. I mean,
I'm sort of with you there, man.
I mean, watching the guy that refuses to even go to the Senior Bowl. I mean, like, I just question his desire to even play football at this point. But this is my problem with all of this. When they hired Aaron Glenn, I was like, okay, I didn't want Aaron Glenn. I wanted an offensive mind, or I wanted someone who had previous coaching experience that would bring in a good staff, because I felt like that would be somebody who can work through the noise and not have all of what's just happened to Glenn, where Glenn comes here, his opening press conference, we're here to win. We're going to coach these guys up. We're going to, like, the way he presented it created a world now where this team is now a 3-win team after a disaster of a season. Now, granted, they got rid of a bunch of guys because they pivoted away from their original plan. Let's just be honest. They thought they were going to win games. They would start at 0-7. They rightly pivoted, which I give them credit for. I think that was the right move to get the assets for draft capital. And Glenn, by the end of the year, was humbled and was a different guy. But you created a scenario now where you are absolutely on the hot seat because everything you did this year was a failure as a head coach. And so now you go and you Band-Aid it with a 64-year-old OC who, let's face it, I mean, unless he's bringing in guys under him that are apprentices who can run his system. So if he retires, like, let's just say best case scenario. And I try to be optimistic. Best case scenario, they find a bridge veteran quarterback. They draft a guy, we'll talk about that real quick, who has promise. Reich can help develop. Reich, they win 6 or 7 games, but you feel like, hey, you've got a young guy backing the veteran. Glenn looks more competent. Reich probably has another year in him, maybe. But at the end of the day, if you have a young QB, you really want him to be in the same system. And yes, there's Drake May and Caleb, guys that like, kind of transcended that with new systems. But I think most people would agree you're not drafting Fernando Mendoza, you're drafting a project. And bringing in a young guy, like let's say they drafted Ty Simpson. I don't want them to, but let's say they do. He can't come in, learn a system this year, and then next year Reich is no longer here. Go learn a new system. You think this kid's going to be good? Like that's just, you're putting him at a disadvantage that is so much greater than a stable environment. So I just struggle a bit, and it's not me trying to be negative as much as I don't know what to root for as a fan, because part of me goes, I hope it just is a complete catastrophe this year. So they blow the whole thing up. And finally, what he realizes, he's got to stop first-time DC head coaches and bring in someone in here that will have credibility, build a staff and an offense that's of the 21st century. But then the other part of me is like, yeah, but you know what? I don't want to go through another season like last year. It's just, I feel like the Jets timeline is so fucked up right now. I just don't know. I don't know what we should be shooting for and rooting for as fans. Like, it's different than the Patriots, Frankie. Like, the Patriots last year were terrible, right? But they found the quarterback. The Bears were terrible, but they found the quarterback. The Jets were terrible, and they don't have a path to the quarterback. So it's like, I mean, I don't know. You tell me, is there anybody in the draft aside from Mendoza that you like and you would take a swing on this year?
Yeah, there's a few. Again, these are shots in the dark completely. I like Trinidad Chambliss. I do. I think he's a competitive quarterback. We don't know if he's going to come out, by the way, still. That's still
right. He's got that lawsuit.
Yeah, so I like him. I think he's a little bit of what Tyrod Taylor was coming out, but better, and a little bit of Russell Wilson, sprinkle that in. So I do like him. I also like I do like Ty Simpson, but not where he's projected to go. So I think Ty is a very cerebral kind of quarterback. He steps up in the pocket when he needs to. He gets his throwing lanes down pat. When he does get in a little bit of a mojo, he's extremely accurate. Kind of, I was saying, and this is on his best day because he did go through injuries the second half of the season, which sort of, brought him off the rails a bit. But when he is healthy and playing well, he looks like Drew Brees a little bit when he was younger out of Purdue, kind of that Drew Brees, a Chargers version a bit, the way he plays the game. Just very methodical, making the right throws in it, progressing in the right way. The other kid I really like, and I just tweeted about him, Taylen Green. Listen, say what you want. Say what you want. You don't, when you're 6'6" and you run a 4.4 and you're 230 pounds, and he's got some games where he's thrown for 300+ yards. He was 8th in the country in QBR. Can throw a nice ball. Problem is, he's a little bit all over the place. Obviously, if he wasn't, he'd be a top 10 pick. There's a lot of project there,
right?
But there's a lot of, holy crap, this kid looks like a taller Cam Newton to a degree. I'm just saying, a little bit of Lamar Jackson. So just saying, that's a complete project play. So what I want, am I telling the Jets go out and draft Taylen Green? No, I'm not. But, if he's there in the 4th round, having a kid like that in your room, that, yeah, he's probably going to have to go through another OC and another system, but it's someone at least interesting. I like guys that bring something interesting to the table that really is a competitive advantage to their game. Garrett Nussmeier does not have a competitive advantage in his game. Cade Klubnik doesn't have a competitive advantage to his game. He doesn't. Ty Simpson has that Drew Brees in him at times. You see it.
He's also got a bit of dog in him too. I've watched him.
He does.
Yeah.
Listen, man, this probably isn't the right time to kind of look at quarterbacks. I think if Ty's there at 44, it's a conversation you want to have. You got to look at your board and see, like, are you going to get value elsewhere? If you are, I'd probably not take Simpson at 44, but we'll see.
I think he's going to go late first round. I think he's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's lucky that there's not another quarterback that's really going to contend with him for that second spot. Maybe Chambliss will to some teams, but I doubt it. Nussmeier may, but I still think Nussmeier will go when Simpson gets picked, then the clock starts on Nussmeier. You'll have like a 10.
That makes sense. What do you think about a guy like Drew Aller? You were talking about physical traits, and I get the Green view, like, the guy's a freak. I mean, Drew Aller is very, he's a big kid. He's got a strong arm. A lot of people have said, is he like a Josh Allen light who's a project? I mean, I know he was having a bad year before he got hurt, but he was a first round. If he would have come out the year before, he was a first round pick.
Yeah, Drew Aller is also a project quarterback, right? I think we need to understand that he's a big project because he has some really good games and then he follows those up with some really bad games. There's not much consistency to his play. I don't know what his injuries look like. Honestly, I think that could bite him in the behind when he gets to the NFL because I just don't think he'll ever avoid those things. I'm not as big on Drew Aller, the project, as some other people are. Has a big arm, but I don't really think he has a feel enough. He doesn't feel the game in the right way. When things are going well, things are going extremely well. But when things are going bad, I don't know how he recovers from that. He sort of puts himself in a little bit of a shell. Whereas a project like Taylen Green, what I like about him is against Texas Tech when they're getting sort of blown out early on, he built a comeback. He played well against Tennessee. Like he keeps himself in these games, not the Notre Dame game, but he keeps himself in these games where I feel like he's a competitor. And he's got that grit. I feel like Aller, things are going well, I'll throw for 300 yards. Things are going badly, you might get 150 out of me, man. I might throw 3 interceptions. So I don't like that part about Aller's game, but I'll say this. Aller in 2023, you're right. I mean, he had probably one of the best seasons in terms of just, a second year starting. And then 2024, he followed that up with arguably even a better year. So he did get derailed big time in this last season. I feel bad.
He got the worst advice possible going back.
He should have came out.
I mean, his stock couldn't be higher at the end of that year. I mean, everyone said he was likely a top 10, 15 pick. It was kind of crazy to me, but yeah, I'm with you, man. I feel like the thing that pisses me off about this team is they should have taken a swing the year before on a quarterback, and they didn't. I mean, and I know you were going crazy. I remember this distinctly during the draft. It's like all these guys kept dropping, and the Jets just didn't draft any quarterback. And then people are like, "Oh, but they got Brady Cook." I'm like, Brady Cook is not any of these other guys. You could have taken a swing at any of these guys. And
let me just say this. I knew, I saw into the future, right? I saw that Aaron Glenn is not an offensive guy. We're questioning if he's even a defensive guy, right? So he's clearly not an offensive guy. He's not helping your quarterback room out, right? You have a first-time OC that nobody knew about. This is pre-August, right? You bring in Justin Fields, that's going to go off the rails so freaking fast, right? Who's going to play after that? Who's going to play? Tyrod? Tyrod's older. He's on his way out. He's
Mr. Glass.
Yeah. So bring in a rookie to play him to see what you got, even as a backup. We did it with Brady Cook. It could have been Riley Leonard, who actually looked good in spurts. Will Howard, he got hurt in Pittsburgh, but I was freaking pounding the table for those guys. Now, I didn't want Shador. I'm not a Shador fan.
I didn't want Shador either.
But like, even if you brought him in, I know he comes with a lot of other things with the media because they can't stop talking about him. Fans included, by the way, in that.
That's crazy.
Media. But I mean, even one of those guys, bring them in. I'm always down with, if you don't have a quarterback room, bring in some guys, and they might even help your offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach come up with unique things. These guys have been playing football for a long time. These guys could be coaches in the NFL down the line. You think Shador Sanders doesn't know how to put together a mesh concept? You think Will Howard, who just won a national championship game on one of the greatest runs you'll see, from a quarterback isn't going to be able to help out that room. Riley Leonard
agree.
also went to the national championship game. These are quarterbacks that like they can help your room out, and you just neglect it for what? Because of why? Because of Tyler Barron. I mean, like, come on, man. Like,
that's the thing that makes you crazy. It's like some of those guys they drafted, they didn't take any swings at quarterback. And it's funny because I remember before the draft, there was like the Jets really like Tyler Shuck. I'm reading, they might like Tyler Shuck, and he could be a guy they swing at. They really like Jackson Dart, might be a guy that they look at. They didn't even, and it's just like if this year was as bad as it was and you would have had a Shuck or a Dart, we wouldn't be going into 2026 feeling the way we feel right now.
No, you have a year where you can play that kid, and then you could tell yourself, assuming you would have had 3 first-rounders. Sometimes I think we play a little bit of revisionist history here, where we're like, oh, if we drafted Dar, we would have had 3 first-rounders. Well, not necessarily, because you may have not have made those trades. You may have made those trades literally because you didn't have a quarterback, knowing that you can use them down the line. So, it doesn't always equate like that. But, yeah, Paul, I agree, man. Like you gotta fill the room out, man. You just gotta have competition in there. And we just didn't. Fields came in, by the way, under the pretense that he was the clear-cut starter. And everyone's competing. Titman, you're competing. Everyone's competing, but not Justin Fields. And look, he has a sense of entitlement, and he didn't want to play towards the end of the year, and he don't want to play at all, it seems like, at this point. So that you're gonna put your foot down and be a Parcellsian kind of guy. Yeah. Be that all the time, man. Don't be it selectively. And with Justin Fields, like, you're not bringing in, it's not like we went out and got Kirk Cousins or something. Even that, I'd want him to compete. But come on, man, this guy's proven nothing in the league, and you gave him, the green light that you're the starter. You do whatever you want. Doesn't work like that if you're gonna preach competition and accountability. That was another big mistake Aaron Glenn made. That was a big one. And what did Fields say at the end of the year? Me, Wildcat, me going in on scramble plays, you're out of your damn mind. He basically said, "I'm not."
Yeah, it was crazy. That whole thing was crazy. Glenn defended him forever. After the owner ran the bus over him, he continued to defend him. Then the minute he gets sat, and it seems like he just took his ball and went home. I was like, dude, you're getting paid a shit ton of money. Like, you could at least be a good soldier. And I know that people were like all over Kaz for going up to him and asking him a question and getting pushed aside on the answer. And they're like, oh, well, what do you expect him to do? I expect a guy getting paid a lot of money to take the questions and answer them and be a professional and just own your shit. And they never got that from him. And I think he's a good dude. I have no ill will towards Fields, but man, a guy just didn't seem to love the game as much as I wanted to see a guy exuding frustration and anger and like acknowledging he had to be better. I never felt that. Like, it's just felt like a guy that like, yeah, it didn't work out for us. And, I'm going to put my faith in, there's always a plan. And, it's just, listen, no ill will to anyone and how they feel and their belief in God and that stuff. Cause that's not that. My issue is, if you love the game and if you're going to run through a wall, like, that is the guy I want. I want the guy that's pissed off. Like, I want the Tom Brady throwing the clipboard being pissed off because, something didn't go right. And when Aaron Rodgers was doing that on the sidelines and people are acting like he's the worst person in the world, I'm like, he's the quarterback. He should have that kind of attitude and mindset. Like, I don't get it. So I hope if whoever we get, like, the reason why I like Mendoza, he's a fiery guy. I like a guy that just is going to put it on his shoulders and go for it. Like, to me, it sucks that we can't get this guy because I really think he was built for us in New York. I think he would have been a perfect fit. And now we just got to hope that we land on a project that may turn out okay, or somehow we land the QB in 2027. That's just what it feels like. So real quick, and then I'm going to ask one last thing on the draft itself, but crystal ball this. Frankie, 2026, who's the starting QB?
I don't have a crystal ball, but I have this stress ball. I have it ready. Are you ready for this one? Speaking of faith, do you know that Frank Reich previously had the record for biggest comeback in NFL history. For he came back, he was Jim Kelly's backup. They beat the Houston Oilers in 1992 in the playoffs. They were down 32 points. They came back and won that game. Do you know the quarterback that actually beat that, who Frank Reich texted after? They were down 33 points, this team. Frank Reich texted this quarterback after and said, "Hey, man, great job. I know you're a man of faith like myself.
Yes.
I'm glad you're the one to make to beat that record." Do you know who that quarterback is?
I do.
That's your quarterback, Kirk Cousins, baby.
Kirk Cousins, yeah.
Kirk Cousins will be the quarterback of the New York Jets in 2026. I really believe that. I think they'll come to an agreement with Atlanta. New York's got other things, I think, that may not be what Kirk Cousins wants, but when you got media deals and ad deals and, you kind of do it on a 2-year, window or something, and everyone wants to go to New York at some point in their life, I think it's going to be Kirk Cousins, man. If it's not Kirk Cousins, I think it'll be Kyler Murray. I think you go with one or the other. Who else? I was saying that Malik Willis is someone.
He's not going to come here.
Yeah, and I think that connection with Miami, with their new coach, I mean, that makes a lot of sense there. So I mean, listen, the Miami head coach, former DC of the Packers, he went up against Malik Willis in practice. Now, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. So, again, sometimes these relationships, and we were talking about this also with Kaz earlier, these relationships can be for better or for worse. Like, you don't know. You might love someone or hate them because you know them. So I don't know. That's a coin flip. That can go 50-50, I think. But yeah, I think it's Kirk Cousins, man. I think he'll run those concepts. I think the Jets will be a little bit desperate, or they will be desperate. There's nowhere else to go, Paul. I mean, like, anyone I bring up, you're going to, or anyone, or we're all going to be like, what the hell?
Well, here's where you and I align. I actually want them to get Kirk Cousins. And it's funny because I was the same guy that back when he turned us and used us to get a bigger contract was like, screw this dude. But, time heals and the Jets are desperate. He's a 37-year-old man who can run a competent offense. He'll get Garrett the football. We'll actually hopefully keep Garrett happy, which is what I am worried about a little bit. How many years is he going to just take this shit? He's a good guy to have in the room. The teammates seem to love him. He is a fiery type of player, which I like. And if we do get a young guy that needs to be mentored, I could see someone like him being a valuable asset. So I like Kirk for that, for all those reasons. I agree with you. And the only other person that in my mind, was like, I looked at, and I'm like, well, there's two, is Marcus Mariota and Jimmy G. And I don't think either one of those guys make it through a season. So I'm with you.
I like the thought of those options. Again, we're talking,
I know
who's the best of the bottom of the barrel crap. You're putting your hand in the barrel and you're trying to find something solid, I guess. I don't know. That's a terrible analogy, but there's nothing out there, bro. It's not like, that's why draft a quarterback later on. I wouldn't draft Ty Simpson early. I wouldn't draft Nussmeier. I think Nussmeier's hand size is a big, big concern. I know people overlook that stuff. I overlook it with a lot of positions, not quarterback. So I think under 9 inches is a big red flag. We'll see what he measures at the combine, though, because his Senior Bowl measurements are different than the combine measurement. So this
is where I'm at with this, and I'm just going to I'll get a final take from you on the draft itself. This is my perspective on the draft.
Yeah.
They have 1, 16, 33, and 44. They have four picks in the top 50, 45 really. If you're a regime that's not desperate, you don't draft a quarterback there unless something miraculous happens and Mendoza is not the number 1 pick. I don't think Ty Simpson's worthy of the 16th pick. I think it'd be foolish to draft him there. I think you have so many needs on defense. I think you have a desperate need at wide receiver too. I feel like they need to take 3 out of their first 4 picks are defensive players and a wide receiver too. That's where my head is. If I was a regime that had confidence that I was going to be here long term, I'm super concerned that they're going to take a swing at Ty Simpson or trade assets to move up to get Nussmeier because they're worried all of a sudden that Simpson goes and now Nussmeier is the guy they got to get. So those are moves of desperate regimes that are worried about getting fired. So I'm worried about those things. Do you agree or align on that?
Not necessarily. Let me tell you
Okay.
why. My draft philosophy is always this. I don't fill positions of need. I don't. Because you're saying, right, draft 3 defensive guys in the top 4 picks. Some people want to draft 4 defensive players because our defense was that bad. We can't stop the run. Year by year, things change, right? We're going to be different in 2 years than we are this year. Like 2 years ago, we had one of the top 5 defenses in football. We don't anymore, right? Draft game-changing players or draft players that make your advantages more of an advantage and a differentiator. I'll give you an example. Draft a left guard, a really good one if you can, right? Because make that O-line not good to really good. Make that O-line fucking awesome. Draft a left guard. Then you got something there that nobody else has. Draft an edge player that's on a project edge that can stop the run like Ruben Bain. Not think he's a project. Arvell Reese is a project edge who plays off ball. Draft the guy David Bailey that if he works out, he's Nick Bonito 2.0, a 15-sack-a-year guy. Draft a receiver that's not scheme dependent in Mekhi Lemon. Go with the Jordan Tyson swing that the guy looks like Jamar Chase at times. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, draft game changers, because if you draft for fit or need, right, which everyone does. I don't believe in really BPA. I don't. Because you might have a quarterback, and if the quarterback's the best player available, you're not drafting him, right? So you can do positions. We might be drafting second. Francis Mauigoa might be the best player available at 2. You're not going to draft him because you have a left tackle. Although you could put him at left guard, and he's projected to be a guard, and that might be something interesting. But that's where my mind goes. How do we differentiate levels of our football team to be such differentiators versus other teams? You're stacking the Jets team versus the Bills, versus the Dolphins, versus the Bengals, versus the Saints, versus the Eagles. If you get a really good left guard with Olu, with Armon and Titman, you might have like a freaking unit that is better than all those teams I just brought up besides Philly. But, you might have something that like, all right, we got some there. Then Brees might have a better year or whoever you draft next year. You gotta Jeff fans are thinking, oh, we need a linebacker, draft Sonny Styles. We need a safety, go and get the next best safety. Then you're building like everybody else. You're not differentiating. You're catching up to what other teams have versus differentiating yourself. Then fill out those things in a lower tier way. That's my draft philosophy.
Yeah.
And it works sometimes, and other times it doesn't. The Eagles did it. The Eagles stacked the deck. They got Lane Johnson. They drafted him high, I remember, and he became their right tackle. Like, sometimes you gotta.
No, I don't disagree, Frankie. It's interesting because I've done.
And we're not saying different things, by the way.
I'm just saying, like, I've done multiple mocks, and like there are scenarios where I agree with you. Like, I've drafted Bailey multiple times at 2 because I just think that's the big swing pick. But
yeah.
I have a feeling they're going to draft Arvell Reese. It just feels like that's where this is going to head. I don't know why. That's my gut.
Yeah, it does. He fills a need, and he does a little of everything, and they need everything. So, yeah.
Right. But like 16, I've had Mekhi Lemon fall at 16. I have not seen Tyson fall to 16 in anything I've mocked. But I had scenarios where Jeremiah Love fell to 16. I was like, screw that. I'm drafting him. Like, if Jeremiah Love is sitting at 16, I don't give a shit. I'm drafting him.
Yeah, I mean, that's a player. Let me say this. I'm not in love with I'm not in love with Jeremiah Love. I'm just not. No, I'm not. But it's not because I'm a very tough critic with running backs, and I wasn't in love with last year Genty and Marion Hampton. I know a lot of people liked him. I thought they were a little bit overhyped. I'm not in love with the guy that much to take him at 16. Some people differ with that. There's some things in his game that I think needs to be a little bit more NFL proof. I think he's a little bit sometimes too tall and doesn't get low enough. And I don't know. I don't know. It whatever. And I haven't done all my homework on the running backs yet, so that's like a TBD. The other kid though is good too out of Notre Dame. The other back people love too. So I mean, listen, we'll see what happens there. But you're right, though. Like, ideally speaking, like, if you love Jeremiah Love, no pun intended, like, screw it. Like, and listen, I'm down with drafting running backs in the first round. I have no problem with that. I have no problem drafting receivers at 2. If you think that I would draft David Bailey because I just think he's a 15 sack potential guy. I don't see that with Bain or Reese. And if you're telling me you're drafting an edge and people bring up run defense, like run stopping ability with an edge, when the hell do we talk about edges getting drafted in the top 5 and their ability to stop the run? I'm good. If they could get me 15 sacks, I'm good. That's my opinion. I think you could figure the run out. And he's so strong, David Bailey. I think he'll figure it out. All the defenses the defense will be able to, use him right, where like he's not that much of a deficit against the run. Regardless, I'm fine with taking a wide receiver at 2 if he can score points. The Jets, 2 sucks this year in a way because there's not a clear-cut 2, but 2's also great because like you can pick anyone you want, so swing.
It's true. They have so many needs. They should not be able to screw up the number 2 pick.
No, and listen, they can also, Paul, what I was also thinking too is 2, 16, 33, and 44. You could move back, but you can also move up. And if you're telling me this draft, and Dom C, and I spoke with Nick about this, and Ryan, if this draft has, let's say, 15 or 16 guys with first round grades, that's what I've been hearing. About half of these guys have first round grades.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with, by the way, but let's just assume that's correct. Because everyone's like, oh, this guy's a 3rd rounder. Oh, this guy's a 5th rounder. Well, then who the hell's getting drafted then? Like, everyone always says that every year. Well, then who the hell's going 25th? What, they got 20? Everyone's a 3rd rounder all of a sudden. That's like a new thing on the block. It's BS. But I get it. This year it's got a little bit less top talent, first round value guys. If that's the case, package 16 and even 103, move up to 12 and take Carnell Tate. You got Bailey and Bain and Carnell Tate. I'm good with that first round. I don't care who you're drafting at 33. And I'll tell you why. Because you got to come out with these 4 picks. 2 have to be really, really good players. 1 has to be an all-pro. 2 has to have potential to be an all-pro. You're going to miss on 1. That's just the way the draft goes. Go throughout any draft. You don't hit on all your picks. And then 1 will be like a 50-50 pick. But come out with 2 potential all-pro guys. However you have to do it. If you need to move up a few spots, move up. I mean, like, just there's get Bailey, Bain, Reese, Fano, Malagoa, the safety, Caleb Downs, Jeremiah Love. Like, go get 2 of those guys. Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, Tyson. Go get one of those. Go get 2 of those guys. I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's Downs and Reese. I'm not crazy about Reese, but get 2 of those. You have the picks. Move up and get 2. Leave 33 alone. You may trade that back. That's the most traded pick in any draft, by the way.
Right.
Pick. Get that instead of like, oh, we're just going to sit there at 44 and take BPA. And then we're like, there's a 35% hit rate on that pick. It's like, all right.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we have free agency first. Let's see how aggressive they are, how much they're willing to spend Woody's money and what they can do with it. And then we have the draft and what we have to look forward to in 2026 will be interesting. I'm hoping it's Kirk Cousins as the quarterback, just because, again, I want the adult in the room who knows how to run a competent offense. I want them to take a swing at quarterback at some point in the draft, but not in the first 2 rounds. I do think we're going to hear, it's never going to happen. We will hear noise that the Jets are desperately trying to trade up for Mendoza. We will hear that. It won't happen, but we will hear that. And then I guess we just see what happens. And odds of Glenn making it. Give me a percentage chance Glenn is the coach in 2027.
15%.
Okay, 15%. It's a bit higher than I think. I think Jake thinks it's 1%.
Oh, Jake hates Glenn more than maybe anyone, including Nick Spano, which is tough to do.
That might be tough to do.
Yeah. I'll leave you with this. Ready? I'm going to ask you this. In 1996, right? The Rich Kotite year, 1-15 Jets. You know who the starting quarterback was for the Jets?
Frank Reich,
Yep. And you know who was on that team, right?
Aaron Glenn. Those
And
two.
yes, there you go. So listen, when the joke can't get any sicker, I'm telling you, the joke just keeps getting sicker and sicker. You're looking at the Super Bowl now with Darnold. By the way, I don't want Sam Darnold to win a Super Bowl. I'll be in the minority there. I do not want. I'm telling you, it's going to hit hard. Everyone's like, oh, we're rooting for Sam. We're rooting for Sam. You're not going to be rooting for that after it happens. The Patriots have won enough Super Bowls. I don't mind giving them another one in terms of Sam Darnold not winning one, because I root for Sam. I know this is like a very like Craig Carton kind of take here, but I don't want Sam Darnold to have a Super Bowl. I just don't. I'm good. We've been shat on enough. The Patriots won 6 Super Bowls, 7. What's 6 versus 7? I mean, yeah, they'll have the most in football, but whatever. They'll get there anyway eventually, especially the way they're looking this year. I don't want Sam to win a Super Bowl. I love the kid. I'm so happy. He's got all his money. He's had a great year. I do not want to say we drafted a guy, because that's part of the joke, right? Like, the joke keeps getting sicker. I'm trying to stop this joke from getting sicker, so I don't want that. But, 1-15, watch us go 1-16, and then
Wiki. But listen, that's a lot of fun. Frankie's awesome. I love when he gets animated. I appreciate him coming on. Oh, wait, there he is. He's back.
Oh, what's up? Sorry, you booted me.
He's back. He was in the middle of going on a rant.
No, I was done. I was done. No, listen, I don't want Sam Darnold to win a Super Bowl. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm being a hater. I'm being petty. I'm being a negative person. But I'm telling you, if he wins that Super Bowl, you're gonna go to sleep at night as a Jets fan with a lot more sadness in that sleep than you will if the Patriots win. Trust me on that. Patriots win, like, oh, whatever. We had Vrabel in here. It sucks, but Sam wins. Yeah. It's gonna hit different. Trust me. It seems good, but after it happens, you're gonna go to sleep crying.
I think let's end with this. I think it's hilarious that the Jets take so much shit that Sam Darnold's not their quarterback in the media, and everyone just seems to ignore the fact that he was a 14-win quarterback on the Minnesota Vikings. They let him walk. And that isn't nearly talked about, that he was actually successful and really good and left. When the last year he was a New York Jet quarterback, he was a complete disaster by the time he was let go. I mean, he was bad that last year. That doesn't mean I didn't want to keep him and find a way to fix him. But that man has been with multiple teams, and the Jets will never live down the fact that Sam Darnold is, to your point, maybe that's what you're saying. Sam Darnold wins a Super Bowl. It'll always be LOL Jets until the Jets are no longer the laughingstock of the league. And right now, it's hard to see when that will change. So until then, Frankie, myself, and others.
I'll say the last thing, Paul. Sam Darnold went to Carolina with Joe Brady as the OC. Yeah. Didn't survive there. Then he went with Kyle Shanahan. Didn't survive there. KOC had a really good year. They idiotically got rid of him. So, like, listen, he's had some offensive minds throughout his path that have looked at him and said, you know what, we're good. So, I mean, you can't kill us for that. You can kill us, though, for starting him too early. When you know a kid, and that's been a big issue with us, even with Zach, it's too early, the process with us putting these guys in the fire. The weapons aren't there. The O-line's not ready. The defense isn't even ready. It's like Fernando Mendoza is a perfect example. He needs a good defense too, man. He's not Mendoza's not ready to come to an NFL team and put up 25 to 30 points a game. He's not. And with that defense they got in Vegas, he's going to need to do that. So they better get ready for that, because this isn't Andrew Luck or Joe Burrow. I'm just going to leave everyone with that. He's not a volume passer. He's not a guy that, he goes to sleep at night, wakes up and he throws for 350 yards in his sleep. He's not that guy. He's just not. And for all the talk about him, people assume he's that guy. He's not. He's a 220 to 250 guy. He's a game manager, but extended game manager that has upside to be a really, really good starter. But he's not a Matt Ryan at a BC like everyone talks about. He's just not. I'm just telling you, he's not Goff coming out of Cal. He's not.
I mean, let's say this, and I'll let you go because I know you're a busy man. But my view on Mendoza is this: when the game is on the line, that dude finds a way to make the big play.
Absolutely.
And when you have that mentality that you have no fear to make that type of big throw in a game, and granted, he has receivers who are making all the big catches, but when you can do the things that he did, whether it was the game in the Penn State game where he was not good most of the game and they had that crazy ending drive, or all the games in the BCS where he was just clutch after clutch after clutch, the run for the touchdown. That mentality is that it's very Tom Brady-esque mentality wise. That I just think when people doubt someone like that, they will usually maybe not surprise you because the number one draft pick. There's a lot of people that doubt this kid. I'm not saying you do. I think he's going to be a very good pro. But I agree with you. He shouldn't be treated as a savior, and he should be a guy that should manage the game and then have to make some big back shoulder throws, things like that, which he's capable of doing. At the end of the day, the Jets fucked up. They're not getting him. It is what it is. And so it's Kirk Cousins, maybe. It better not be freaking Kyler Murray, man. If it's Kyler Murray, you're going to see me lose my mind on X. I'm going to lose it. I'll tell you right now. But listen, Frankie, I appreciate your time, man. You're an awesome guest. I love your content. I consume it all. Whenever you're on with Jake, I love watching the two of you go back and forth. It's very entertaining. It's great. And I respect your football knowledge. You really, you're not just a fan. I mean, you're a diehard, passionate fan, but the perspective you have on the game and kind of overall, like when we were just talking about Frank Reich in the beginning, ball. And so like, I appreciate that. It's not just some guy being a blowhard. So I appreciate it, Frankie. Thanks for coming on, man. It was a lot of fun. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Well, Paul, I'll say this. Can you hear me? I lost my sound. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear you last like 5 seconds. It's been great. I appreciate you having me on. And until next time, man, we'll get into some nice draft talk soon. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, Frankie. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We're a little bit of a long episode, but we covered a lot of topics, and I will see you guys soon. Please click like and subscribe, and thanks for tuning in.